My name is Daniel Scott with UDAYA.com, and this is Average Yoga, a series of easy-to-digest yoga tutorials for people who don't do yoga yet. Take what you like, leave what you don't, go at your own pace, and learn to build your practice from the ground up. Core awareness. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Pretty much every movement that you make in movement, in yoga, when you're running, when you're doing anything, it's connected to your core. That's why it's called the core. It's at the core of everything that you do. The core is that space between the ribs and the hips. If you were to imagine there was a box, right? You'd have a line from the ribs to the hips on each side, and you have a line from hip to hip, and you'd have a line across the ribs. That's your core. This area right here, there's a huge amount of muscles that help keep the torso upright. They hook into the hips and the pelvis, and even the muscles, the psoas, they run from the knees past the front. Everything hooks. Everything is connected at the core. Obviously, having a little bit of awareness there is going to do you a great amount of good. So let's work on using the core to make every movement more smooth and easy. Now, we've had another video on cat and cow, and we're going to come back to that position just so we can use more core awareness to make it happen. So come onto your hands and knees. Shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Now, cat and cow is pretty simple. If you just move the chin and tailbone towards each other, boop, the spine rounds. And if you lift the chin and lift the tailbone, boop, cow happens, and then the spine moves. Now, if you come back to neutral, can you make those same movements, not by tucking the chin, but by engaging the navel up towards the ceiling so much that the body has to follow it? So you're really strongly engaging the front muscles of the core between the ribs and the hips. And then relax. And then are you able to engage the back muscles? And even by drawing the navel up and in a tiny bit to help the lower back engage so the tailbone and head lift up. Come back to neutral. So going from cat and cow simply by moving the core in different ways, you might not move as much as if you're trying to move the shoulders and hips as opposed to just using the core. On the next round, coming back to the hands and the knees, instead of moving the front core or the back core, we're going to work on the side bodies. So that's the space between the ribs and the hips. So if you take a big inhale here and then exhale, can you engage muscles on your left side that move the shoulder and the hip closer to each other, like you're wagging your tail to your left? I don't know if you can. You should try it. Come back to neutral. And then exhale, inhale, whatever breath cycle you want. Try to engage the muscles on the right side body so the shoulders and the hips move towards each other and the tailbone wags to the right. Come back to neutral. Wag the tail to the left by engaging the muscles only, don't move the bones, move the muscles to move the bones. Come back to neutral. And then same thing, move the muscles on the right side body to engage the bones and move them towards the right. Come back to neutral. So if you do a cat, rounds the spine, super core engagement. If you do a cow, arches the lower back, lifts the chin. If you engage the right side body, wags the tail to the right. And if you've engaged the left side body, wags the tail to the left. Sit on your knees if you can. Now sit back on your heels. Don't sit on your knees. That's kind of impossible. Sitting back on your heels, the same rules apply here. Now, engage your core so much, pull the navel in so much that it fills up the lower back and the chin just starts to follow and fold forward. Come back to neutral. Now, try to engage the back body. You might have a tone in the front, but it's more about opening through the back and opening the chest by engaging the upper part of the core in the front and the lower part in the lower back. Come back to neutral. So try to find your cat and cow with the shoulders up, just using the muscles there. To be honest, it really helps make some sounds. Here's a pro tip. Take a big inhale through your nose, exhale through pursed lips like you're trying to whistle. When you do that, you feel the front body engage. So if you use that breath movement to help make the movement happen, it might even make it easier. So take a breath in here, exhale, find your cat, round through the spine. You'll feel as you make that exhale through the pursed lips, the core engages. Come back to neutral. Now, try this on the side body. Inhale here, exhale, right side. You feel the right side body's engaged. The shoulder starts to tip to the right. Come back to neutral. Same thing. Try to tip the left shoulder towards the left by engaging the left side body using the core muscles alone. Don't just try to touch the shoulder to the ground. Use the breath to make it happen. Inhale, exhale, right. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, left. Faces, breath, works amazing. Now, try to put that in your yoga pipe and smoke it for the rest of the day. What's going to happen? Every movement that you make is going to come originating from the core. Even if you move your arms, how can you engage your core to make the movement slow and more controlled? Let's try something from here. Sit on your butt, extend your legs forward. Now, what I would like you to do is keep your right leg straight, bend the left knee, but instead of trying to just slide the left heel in by picking it up and moving it, I want you to push the left heel gently into the ground. Use the core, navel draws in, and try to slide the foot towards your body by engaging and drawing the thigh in, but keeping the core active and engaged. And then exhale, move that left foot back to where it is. If doing it on a yoga mat doesn't work, you might want to have a little space where it slides, so come off the mat. Try this with your right knee. So as the knee bends, engage the thigh, engage the core. You can press the hands into the ground, navel's drawing in. Use the core to slide the heel in and out. So instead of just bending the knee and sliding this thing in, be very articulate, be very aware of the connection to the ground, connection to the core, and move your body from using the core. Navel draws in, knee bends, heel, the right knee slides in. Now, if you want to try to switch it at the same time, using the core, can you use different parts of your anatomy to make this movement slow and controlled? There's a good chance you're going to feel a lot more control. You're going to feel a lot more awareness, but you're also going to feel a lot more, which makes this more tiring and also more energizing at the same time, because you're using a lot more muscle than just flopping the things in and doing the movements this way. Your core is your awareness point for all slow and controlled movement. So bend both knees, put them flat on the ground. Take your hands to the front of the knees, navel draws in, shoulders down the spine, and simply be here. Use the core engagement to keep the spine long. Now, if you tuck your chin and start rounding the spine, and start lowering one vertebrae at a time, the navel's drawing in so much, it's pointing the tailbone towards the heels. You can hang on to the front of the knees. You can even hang on to the back of the hamstrings. You can take your hands, slide them up behind your sweaty knee creases, lift your elbows in line with your shoulders, and roll down here. Just one or two vertebrae, and then use the core to come back up. It's not about trying to lift from the heart and lift the chin. You're trying to use the eyes gazing over the knees, the elbows lifting, the core just rolls back and forward. A few times. If you don't want to go that far, just go 1 inch back, 1 inch forward, 1 inch back, 1 inch forward. Take the hands, fold forward, relax and release. So that's a great way to also build some strength and awareness. I'm trying to use energy in the core to press feet down, to stay connected to your own body. Now, you might want to come back onto the mat for this one, especially if you have a sensitive tailbone. Navel's drawing in, elbow lifts. You can use this core engagement, engage the navel, pull the navel away from the t-shirt that you're wearing or whatever shirt you might be wearing, and then lift the right foot parallel to the ground, put it back down. Navel draws in, lift the left foot, put it back down. Lift the right foot, pause, and as the right foot lowers, try to lift the left foot and switch. Now, of course, I am using my leg muscles, but it's not just I'm not lifting the leg up. I'm trying to find the core to create connection, to create lift. So if it's too much just to lift the foot, you might even try to lift the thigh inward. So just take the knee in towards the chest. Knee in towards the chest. Knee in towards the chest, extend the leg, bend the leg, put the foot back down. All this is happening from the core. The idea is not just to flop into the movement, but to set a foundation, think about the movement, and then try to use the core as the origin of the movement that you're trying to make. All of this works towards trying to make something called Navasana, boat pose, which is probably some of it's like the worst thing to hear at the end of a yoga class. You're like, all right, we're going to do Navasana. You're like, ugh. So Navasana, you're on your tailbone, hands can be under the knees, lift one knee, lift the other, float. You can squeeze the legs together for more added extra effort and energy, hug the hands under the legs, and then start extending the legs. Now, if extending the legs is too much, don't do it. Have the knees bent, shoulders down the spine, eyes lifted, heart open, elbows lifted, navel's drawing in, feet lifted, shoulders down the back, elbows lifted, looking up. Try just to use the core to keep the float happening. Perhaps that's why they call it a boat pose, because you're floating. It should feel like you're floating on a nice calm sea. Or depending on how your core is, it could be like there's a hurricane coming and you're just trying not to drown. So if that happens, don't just flop out of it. Put one foot down, put another foot down, fold forward onto those thighs, and breathe. Most important, if anything, the core works with the breath. So if you're so engaged in your core you can't breathe, you have to start learning how to subtly be able to control both breath and movement at the same time. Not just having a fist and punching through everything, but softening the hands and using the articulate movement of your body to make your movements more smoother and easy. That's a lot to think about. So at the end of the day, as long as you're aware that something's going on down there, you're doing good. Nice job. So, how'd all that land for you? Hopefully it sparked a fire. And if you're looking to fan the flame, head over to UDAYA.com and enter the promo code AVERAGE JOGA, Joga. You're going to have access to a lot more classes from myself and a host of amazing teachers from around the world of all shapes, styles, and colors. By all means, let this serve as a great foundation to build a home practice on that you can have for the rest of your life. Enjoy, enjoy.